It's just after 1. I am going to start the Transportation Committee hearing, but Ruth, do you want to lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first bill on the agenda is, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, is House Bill 1302 relative to the weighing of vehicles. And the prime sponsor is Stephen Smith, but come on down.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Senators. For the record, my name is Thomas Walsh. I'm a representative from the town of Hooksett, which is Merrimack County, District 24. I'm here filling in for Representative Stephen Smith to introduce House Bill 1302 FN relative to the weighing of vehicles. Basically, all this does is limit law enforcement's authority to stop and weigh any vehicle and just limits it to commercial vehicles only. Currently, right now, if you're suspected of being overweight, they can request that you actually drive your vehicle overweight to a scale to get weighed, so they can prove that you are overweight and then write the ticket. We did hear in transportation, though, and this is what I said on the House floor when we voted on this last week, that the Department of Safety actually testified to us that if they had a reason to believe an overweight vehicle or a vehicle was overweight, they would not make them drive to a scale because it's dangerous. And if they think it's overweight, why make the risk even higher? They also said that they probably would not, and most likely would not, request the portable scales to come in because the amount of the fine doesn't justify the expense it would take to get the portable scales over there. Keep in mind, this is only for non-commercial vehicles. All the commercial regulations stay intact. What they did say is that they would usually, in most cases, just make them, relieve the load on the spot. They also said there were many other ways to write a ticket for being overweight without the need for the scales and the weighing and the driving to scales. So that's pretty much all it does. It leaves everything commercial in place. And I believe it was testified in the House last week that there's only been 5 incidents, maybe 5 or 6 incidences of this bill being applied or this law being applied in the last 5 years. So Representative Smith's approach on this was this is just a cleanup and try to eliminate unneeded laws. That's all it does.
Thank you, Representative. Any questions from the committee?
If I may. Yeah, thanks, Representative. So just to clarify, so I'm just kind of thinking, so what do we do? Non-commercial vehicles now can still be weighed if need be?
Yeah, right now, non-commercial vehicles can be ordered to go to a scale to prove the weight or the suspicion that they're overweight.
Thank you.
And if I can, a lot of people don't even have a clue what the maximum weight limit is in their vehicles. One of the examples that was given, because Representative Smith did look into it, if you've got 5 full-size adults and a 1,500 pickup truck, you're already there at weight. You wouldn't be able to put a bag of chips in the back of the thing without going overweight. So people might be violating this unknowingly. And again, if there's actually blatant abuse by people putting a pallet load of bricks in the back of their half-ton truck, it's pretty clear that this thing's overweight, and they still have the reasonable suspicion to pull them over and give them a citation without having to go through all the scale.
So let me just get this straight. You're keeping in place the commercial motor vehicle,
Correct.
taking out the non-commercial. In the 5 or 6 incidences, I guess this is probably a question for DOT or DMV, but how much overweight were those vehicles?
That I don't know.
Okay,
I don't.
all right.
And those were my numbers. Actually, it was the person speaking in favor of or opposing the ought to pass that mentioned that it was only a handful of times in the last 5 years. So I don't have all the details.
Okay, Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none?
All right, thank you.
Go back to transportation. Okay, yeah. David Rodriguez? Rodrigue, sorry, David.
That's fine, that's fine. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, members of the committee. For the record, my name's David Rodrigue from the Department of Transportation. I'm the Director of Operations. Fundamentally, the department is concerned about this bill. I am learning more as I talk with Troop G about what they can and cannot do. What I can tell you, our concern is for the safety of our roads and our bridges and the vehicles that travel on them and over them. We have a number of state and municipal bridges that are posted as low as 3 tons, which is 6,000 pounds. There are a significant number of non-commercial vehicles that regularly travel over that 3-ton weight. Sometimes the vehicles are perfectly legal and registered to carry that weight, but they still should not be driving over those posted bridges and some of our posted roadways as well in the springtime. And without Department of Safety or local law enforcement's ability to stop and weigh the vehicle, we have no way of protecting that infrastructure. So that's where our concern comes from. It's for the safety of the roadway and the bridges. And thank you for hearing my testimony, and I'd take any questions.
Senator Waters.
Yeah, I'm sorry for my confusion. Maybe I didn't understand what Representative Walsh was talking with me about. If you see a non-commercial vehicle and it is overweight, can you stop it?
So me, the DOT doesn't do that. Troop
All right.
G does that,
I'll wait.
and they will have to answer that
I'll wait to
question.
see that.
Senator Sherman.
I just want to make sure Troop G or somebody is here from state police, because I have a couple of questions too. I just want to make sure I direct them to the right. Okay, great, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Carl Huddleston, welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you for hearing my testimony, and good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Carl Huddleston. I'm an assistant troop commander for New Hampshire State Police Troop G. I oversee the motor carrier enforcement unit, and I run, which incorporates size and weight enforcement. So I testified before the other committee against this, and I'll go over some of what I had said before, and I know there's a couple of questions that I will address afterwards. So we're looking at this in a couple of ways, but first of all, it's public safety. Right now, the way the law is written and the way it's enforced, first of all, any sworn police officer in the state can enforce size and weight. It's not just state police. Historically, we're the ones that have been doing that. However, any sworn police officer in the state can stop a vehicle if they suspect that it's overweight and bring it to a public scale, meaning a lot of transfer stations have scales in them to weigh the product coming in and out. And there are a number of places in the state that have scales that are certified. A lot of the gravel pits do. There are some commercially available ones off the interstate in the southern tier of the state. However, anybody can do size and weight enforcement. We're the only agency in the state that actually carries portable scales, so we can weigh a vehicle roadside. Having said that, the way the law is written right now is if we suspect a non-commercial vehicle for being overweight, we can stop it. We have the ability to get it someplace safe for us to weigh, whether it be just up the road where the shoulder widens, which is where we do some of our work on the shoulder road, or off on a side road, or to a municipal parking lot, a town hall, a fire department, anything like that. It gives us the ability to at least move the vehicle, usually at a much reduced speed, to someplace where one of our troopers can safely examine the vehicle, weigh the vehicle. There is the potential for somebody to use what would be considered a commercial vehicle in a non-commercial fashion. And let me explain that. If I own a construction company, I have a myriad of construction equipment, big dump trucks, and everything else. All our motor carrier enforcement rules and some of our state rules talk about commercial vehicles. Well, a commercial vehicle, by definition, is something that's used in the furtherance of a commercial enterprise. So if I own the equipment on a Saturday or a Sunday, and I'm working on my own property, this happens not every weekend, but seems to be on weekends we run into this. There's a contractor from down south in the southern tier of New Hampshire or in Massachusetts that has a camp somewhere in northern New Hampshire, and they're going to haul all their equipment and their product up to work on their camp. Well, technically, they're not in commerce because it's their own property. In theory, they could take a tractor-trailer unit loaded with gravel and drive it there and not be subject to the rules if this were to change, because they're not in commerce anymore. So there is a big problem with the in-commerce or commercial vehicle that's in this proposed legislation. It eliminates us from being able to enforce our state rules and regulations on something that by definition would normally be a commercial vehicle. However, it's not being used in that fashion. I have done this myself on a Saturday or a Sunday, seen somebody that's taken their F-150 half-ton pickup truck and gone to the local gravel pit and filled it full of gravel to do some project at home. And the reason I stopped it was because it's headed down the road pointed like this, because there's so much weight in the back of it. It's unsafe. I've weighed them. They're over what, first of all, the vehicle is designed to carry. It's over what the axles are rated for. It's over what the tires are rated for. If that were in the commercial realm, it would be placed out of service on the roadside and they would have to come unload it. They would still have to unload it. However, we would not be able to get it either off the roadway or at least, the term, limp it up the road to someplace where it was safe for somebody to at least weigh this thing. So there is an issue of public safety. We do have people that are in the commercial realm that try to say that, well, I'm not making money today, therefore I'm not subject to your rules. Well, in the furtherance of a commercial enterprise is the term that we talk about when we try to consider whether something is commercial or not. There are a lot of people that play that game. And if you throw in farm vehicles and some of the other things that go along with it, we could spend a significant time on the roadway trying to determine whether or not this vehicle is actually being used in commerce. So leaving the law as it is, it gives us the ability to stop any vehicle, whether it be commercial or not, and be able to move it up to 10 miles. And I don't know that we've ever had to move anything 10 miles to get it to someplace safe, but it allows us to do that, and then to determine the weight. Now, having said that, in the past 4 years, and I did the research on this when this bill first came up, there have been a handful, I think 5 or 6 instances where we've cited a non-commercial vehicle for an overweight violation. These are extreme cases where it's certainly in the public interest to get this vehicle off the road because it's unsafe. They can't stop the vehicle, they can't steer the vehicle, and things of that nature. Typically, we would not require anybody, we would not stop anybody and submit them to weighing unless we had probable cause that the vehicle was overweight. So merely more than, hey, I just want to find out how much that thing weighs, is that we would need some indication that the vehicle is overweight. So it's not something that happens every day. However, this will take one of our tools away from us. And although I don't know that it would happen in this case, the state of New Hampshire gets millions of dollars a year from federal highway for our roads and bridges. I'm sure Mr. Rodriguez can confirm this. We went through an audit with Federal Highway a number of years ago. They weren't happy with the way some of our laws were written and some of our practices, and they can withhold 7% of our annual Federal Highway funds because of problems with our laws and rules. I'm not saying that this would happen in this instance, however, it is a possibility. So there's a public safety issue on one hand, there's an infrastructure component to this as well to protect our roads and bridges, and there's also a potential funding issue if we do take this tool off the table for us. I hope that clarifies things.
Senator Sherman.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions.
Certainly.
And thank you for coming today. It's really, really helpful. Can a commercial, actually, you answered one of my questions, but is this bill unique to New Hampshire? Or is this, do you know, is this something that, it sounds like it's probably standard or practice across the country?
It is, different states have obviously different rules on the way the laws are written. However, there is the ability for, in most every state, for action to be taken against a non-commercial vehicle. Now, just as an example, I happened to stop a tractor trailer one day, full-size tractor trailer, had regular passenger plates on it. And I'm thinking, okay, obviously, clearly there's something wrong here.
Was
This
it
is-
vanity plates?
No, they
Just
not,
kidding.
they had regular passenger plates on the tractor itself. It had a sleeper on it, and it had a regular trailer plate on the trailer. When I made contact with the driver, I'm like, hey, what's going on with this? He goes, oh, I've modified this tractor trailer. Now it's an RV. Doesn't need a commercial driver's license, doesn't need a medical card, doesn't need anything. So he's converted this tractor trailer to an RV. RV is completely out of the realm of commercial motor vehicle unless you happen to be a manufacturer. So this guy can drive this with an operator's license. That's part of what we run into roadside when we stop something that looks like it's a commercial vehicle. Oh no, I'm using it for my personal use. Therefore, I'm outside of the commercial realm. Therefore, those regulations don't apply to me. So yes, this guy hauled his race cars in a fully enclosed 53-foot box trailer with a tractor that had a sleeper in it and converted it to an RV. So that's what we run against sometimes, is that people do some crazy things that gets them out of the normal commercial regulations, and that's what we're trying to avert here, is going down that road.
So you said that you've had 5 or 6 stops that sounds like they were pretty egregious.
Yes,
People- right.
yes, absolutely.
And we were told by the surrogate sponsor, I'm not sure what that title would be, the representative, that you have ample other statute, or at least it was implied, that would allow you to stop a non-commercial vehicle for being overweight. There are other things that you could use. Is that adequate?
No, not really. The issue becomes this one statute in particular that this really boils down to. It's 26626, which talks about a vehicle weighing more than 20% of its registered weight. Typically, that is the only law that we have available to us to enforce on non-commercial vehicles. On commercial vehicles, there's 3 separate sections in 26618. There's 26618A, 18B, 18C, which address commercial vehicles, but it's all geared to vehicles that are 33,000 pounds or greater. It doesn't take into consideration the non-CDL trucks that are up to 26,000 pounds, what we consider like a one-ton dump truck, which has, dual wheels and back, but it's typically anywhere from a 14,000 gross vehicle weight rating to 19 or 19.5. There are a lot of those vehicles on the road, and unfortunately, we find a lot of violations in that type of smaller truck. So those are the vehicles that we have to use that statute for. Now, granted, yes, The vast majority of them are truly in a commercial enterprise operation. However, the owner that owns it, that wants to do his weekend work for himself, is outside of that. If I borrow my buddy's construction vehicle to go do this for my own personal use, he's out of the game as well. So you're right. These handful that we've done over the last couple of years are very noticeable. Yes, they're a great public safety issue. Typically, the people don't have experience driving in a vehicle that weighs that much. And at least this will give us the ability to take it up the road, and typically it's at a reduced speed, to get it someplace where we could safely weigh the vehicle. Or in the instance of either a town or a county officer, they would have the ability to bring it within the 10 miles to a transfer station, a gravel pit, or something like that in order to determine the weight. The standard fine for this is $124, so it's not like it's a great big ding that we do impose on some of the commercial traffic that we deal with. However, it boils down to a public safety issue, and that's where our concern is. It's taking one tool away from us.
Any other questions? I just have one. On those 4 or 5 incidents that you did cite, do you remember, did you use 266:17?
26. 26 is the actual statute for being overweight. 17 talks about the weighing of vehicles.
Okay,
So there's one that allows us to do it, and then there's a statute that is the penalty for being overweight.
okay, got it.
So typically, an F-150, a modern one, has a gross vehicle weight rating somewhere around between 6,500 and 8,500 pounds. You would need to be at least 20% over that mark. So in the lower end of it, they'd have to be at least 1,300 pounds over the registered weight in order for us to do anything. And again, it's a matter of public safety more than anything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you. Okay, that concludes the testimony. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on House Bill 1302 that has not been given the opportunity? All right, with that, I will conclude the testimony. And give Peter some time to set up and us for the next bill. Thank you. All right, Peter, you ready? All right. I'm opening the hearing on House Bill 1462 relative to motorcycle learners permits, and I welcome the prime sponsor, Michael Yakubovich. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm Michael Yakubovich from Hooksett, representing Merrimack 24, and this should be a simpler bill. It's got to do with motorcycle learning permits. Currently, in statute, the permit can be obtained once in a lifetime for motorcycle. Somebody who wants to learn the motorcycle after passing the written test, they get a permit for 45 days. And they can only do it once in their lifetime. Even if they don't pass the writing test, if for some reason they cannot practice and exercise the permit, they can never come back, even 10 years later, 20 years later, and try this again. So initially somebody brought it to me actually. On one of the online forums, a lady but she discussed it, and she was asking for advice on what to do. She got the permit, she passed the written test, but she couldn't practice. It was life and kids and family. And it rained the whole month of July last summer, if you remember. And she was trying to figure out what to do. And the most common answer was that just ignore it, go ride, go practice, don't be a jerk. And to me, that's not the right solution to this problem. So that's why, very simply, here I'm asking for an extension to that same permit. Upon paying the fee that they paid the first time, they can get another extension, just one more extension to the original permit of 45-day. There's a small fiscal note that in this bill that requires reconfiguration of computers, but then there will be some revenue coming in from the payment of new fee of new permits, the extensions. And I think that's all that there is to it. So, any questions? And I believe the commissioner will testify as he's done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from the committee? Senator Ward?
Thank you, Madam Chair. How many cases do you know of where people didn't make it the first time and then couldn't apply again?
Thank you for the question. It's anecdotal evidence, but I've seen at least 5 in that same online discussion where that lady brought it to everybody's attention. So,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions? So I just have one. So am I to understand that if you don't take the test or pass it in a certain period of time, then you are not eligible to take it ever again?
You, thank you for the question. You are not able to practice on the roads because the permit expires. The permit allows you to practice in preparation for your test.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. All right. Any other questions? Seeing none? Thank you. All set.
Okay, I gotta run back to my committee. So thank you.
Yeah, I have. All right, Larry Crow from the DMV. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Senators. For the record, my name is Larry Crow. I am with the Division of Motor Vehicles in the Motorcycle Rider Training Program. And well, the division has no position regarding the passage of this bill. The one thing we would ask is a consideration of the effective date because it's currently written as shall take effect 60 days after its passage. This will require not insignificant amounts of work to our computer system. That combined with the fact that the motorcycle permit is very seasonal, if we could move the effective date to January or maybe February 1st, that would allow us to, were this to pass, to be able to put everything in place in our computer system, test it during a time period where we do not have very many applicants for motorcycle permits, and then, but get it ready for the season, you know, March, April, when people start thinking about it.
Thank you, fair enough. Any other questions? Quickly,
Yeah. Why is there the restriction that you can only do this once in your lifetime?
That was born, there was a time period when there was no restriction. And what was happening was people would just keep renewing their permit, avoiding ever getting tested. The pendulum might have gone a little too far in the other direction. And I think this is to get it in the middle.
all right, sounds, any other questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that is all the testimony I have that would like to speak. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on 1462 that was not able to? All right, I will close the hearing on House Bill 1462. And we're right on time now.
I'll open the hearing on House Bill 1246. And do we have a sponsor to introduce it? I will introduce it from here. It's House Bill 1246, relative to interlock devices. And from the DMV. Robert, yeah.
Bob Keller, I'm with the Division of Motor Vehicles, Assistant Bureau Chief of Financial Responsibility. This bill is at the request of the department to strengthen the continuity of the ignition interlock program for New Hampshire licensed drivers that receive a DUI conviction in another jurisdiction. And any questions?
Any questions from
Anyone else we
members of the committee? I did have one on this.
Mhm.
You know, it makes a lot of sense. Do we have, is there similar kind of reciprocity with other states on this? So that they recognize somebody is convicted here, that they will also do and has the interlock, that they would have the interlock if somebody moves to that state?
Oh, thank you for your question. I know the state of Massachusetts does this.
Yeah.
I don't know about other states. I can certainly find out.
Well,
though.
it's just a curiosity,
No,
because it
okay.
seems like, you
But
know,
yeah, I know
based on what happened,
Massachusetts.
you know, a couple of years ago, this is one more way to
Mhm.
tighten things up, huh?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
And Bob, you don't want to say anything, right? Okay, well, good. Anybody who didn't sign up would like to testify on 1246? Not seeing anyone, I will close the hearing on 1246. Senator Bertzel could have stayed.
All right, it being 1:46, I will start the hearing on House Bill 1085 relative to ignition lock requirements and invite the prime sponsor in. Oh, welcome. Who was just up there?
We're all getting our steps in today.
Yep, Representative
Tulersky.
Telersky.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, I am Laura Tulersky. I represent Hillsborough 35, which is Nashua's Ward 8. And today I present for your consideration House Bill 1085 relative to ignition lock requirements. This bill was first filed back in 2020 when Representative Sykes submitted the bill on the behalf of the director of the DMV. It passed the House and died on the Senate table due to COVID. Last summer, I had a conference. Is a small breathalyzer for a car. A device should be installed on any vehicle used by that person, quote, on a regular basis. It's that phrase on a regular basis that is the problem. I think we all can agree that if you own a car and it's your primary car and you drive it to and from work, that car you use on a regular basis. Therefore, that vehicle would need an interlock device. But what about the car that's registered to your spouse that you only drive occasionally? Technically not a regular basis. So you would not need an interlock device on that car. Perhaps you borrow a friend's car to run some errands or your neighbor's pickup to make a run to the landfill. Again, both of these scenarios would not be a vehicle that you use on a regular basis. And technically, you would not need an interlock device installed on them to drive them. This bill simply strikes out that problematic phrase, clearly cleaning up and changing the statute to reflect that an interlock device must be installed on any car used by the person when in the process of reinstatement of their license as ordered by the court after a DWI conviction. In layman's terms, this clarifies the intent and closes an unintended loophole that currently exists in law. And it's my hope that this committee will find HB 1085 as a simple language cleanup bill and find it ought to pass. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative. Any questions from the committee?
Well, I just wanted to say thanks for bringing this back. I remember when it died from COVID, like a lot of good bills, and this is good, awfully good for safety, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. I agree. It was important.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Representative.
Thank you very much.
Robert Keller, DMV. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. My name is Bob Keller from the Division of Motor Vehicles, Assistant Bureau Chief of Financial Responsibility. I can say Representative Tulersky did an amazing job introducing that, so I can answer any questions. I don't have anything to add to what she already said.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
That was easy. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on House Bill 1085 that has not been given the opportunity? With that, I will close the hearing on 1085.
I've got about 5.
I'll second.
Second.
All those in favor of going into exec, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll move on to pass on 1085.
I'll second.
Second.
Senator Waters moves ought to pass on 1085. Senator Ward seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor of ought to pass on 1085, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I move consent.
Second. All those in favor of consent, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Senator Waters, you want to take this out?
Be glad to. And you want to do 1246?
Sure.
I'll move 1246 ought to pass.
Hold on.
Second.
All right.
I'll second.
Okay. So Senator Waters moves ought to pass on 1246 FN. Senator Sherman seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor of ought to pass, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll move consent.
Second.
We have been.
No, we have Have we done some FNs?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
will.
you can put it on consent. Yeah, yeah.
I second consent.
Okay. Who moved? Did I move?
You did.
I moved consent. Senator Rishardi seconds. All those in favor of consent, say aye.
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 Opposed?
And learner's permit, that's an FN. Do you
Oh,
wanna do
hold
that?
on. Who wants to take this one out?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Senator Rishardi will take it out.
You want to do 1462?
Sure. Yep.
I'll move ought to pass on 1462.
I'll second it.
Senator Sherman moves to pass. Senator Rishardi moves, seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor of ought to pass, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Consent?
Senator Sherman moves consent. Senator Bertzel seconds. All those in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll take it out if you want.
Senator Sherman will take it out.
I guess I'll head up. And I'll
Okay.
hopefully back.
Well, wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Move, we come out of
I'll
exec.
second. All those in favor of moving out of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I'm such a pest.
It's all right. Just get
seeing as we are 4 minutes late, and we will start the hearing on House Bill 2022 and bring down the prime sponsor. Representative Graham. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I'm Representative John Graham, Hillsborough District 7, which is the town of Bedford. I am also the chairman of the House Public Works and Highways Committee. What you have before you, other than the big book that's in front of Senator Waters, is our enactment of the state's 10-year plan. The amendment that you have in front of you, I will cover pieces of it quickly and take up the hard one at the end. One of the things that we found as we were going through, because the new Infrastructure Act at the federal level had just been passed, even as Gassett was finishing and as we were working on it, some of the rules became clearer on bridges. So you see a whole list of bridges that were going to be funded in various ways, and some of them advanced. And that was the department working overtime to actually get that so we could get that in there. I do not know if the money that was recently passed by the Senate and Senate Bill 401 will have any impact on this or not. It's something that we, in both Public Works and Senate Transportation, are going to have to pay some attention to. What it does essentially is modify funding sources for all of these. And if you look at it's the width and breadth of the state, and we tried to spread it out. On page section 6, which deals with the Turnpike Authority, for those members who've been on the committee for a while, you would remember that every year we had a long amendment that would try to update what the bonding authority was, what this was, but we never updated that projects were completed. What this amendment does, it clarifies the RSAs that says what is in the 10-year plan under RSA 240 is what we do. So it's just clean, and every 2 years we get to look at it. So I would ask that you hold off all the detailed questions. The commissioner is behind me. I gave her a heads up. We did do one modified study on Route 153. There have been several accidents, some fatal. This is going to be done in conjunction with DOT and law enforcement in the area, just to see whether we need to do anything on the road in future 10-year plans. And that was at the request of some members of the House and from members of that community. The hard one, ownership transfer of Continental Boulevard. I'm going to say this very bluntly. This is the House position, and it's going to stay the House position as far as I am concerned. I will say that the toll booths that were put in Merrimack have led to a great expansion of real estate, development, industry, and other things within the town. The tolls have been taken out, and bills that were not standalone bills were put into bills that had no opportunity to vote against. For example, last year, House Bill 2. We took out the last of the three. That was a must-pass for some members of my party, and I wasn't going to vote against it for just that. The other thing is, you will hear people from Merrimack go, "Oh, it's a great expense to the town." On the floor of the House, they were talking $200,000 to $300,000 a year for maintenance of this road. The department doesn't think it costs them quite that much, but no matter what it costs, if it remains part of the turnpike, everybody who goes through an easy pass lane or throws $1 into the kitty is paying for the maintenance of that road, which serves the town of Merrimack and the industry that is there. If it wasn't there, there'd be much more traffic on all of their side roads. That's it in a nutshell. We didn't change a lot. We didn't change anything in the blue book that you have, add or subtract. The department and the Gasset did a great job of putting that together. And I think several of you went to some of the committee meetings that the counselors held. And you know that there was a lot of input. And I know that the commissioner has been in and briefed the committee on what they've done, how it's broken out this year, and what the monies were. And with that, I will take any questions you may have.
All right. Any questions from the committee? Senator Waters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really want to commend you and the committee. A lot of moving parts, a lot changing because of the Washington funding, and you working with the department. What a great job on this.
I would have to give all of the credit to the department. Literally, because they were taking the draft rules, the new rules, as they were coming out and trying to apply them both during the Gasset phase and then while we had the bill. And I'm sure that they're going to talk some about what the changes have been in the last 2 months, if any. But, the commissioner and their entire staff need to be commended for the work that they put into not just the overall plan, but to what we did in Public Works and Highways Committee.
And if I may follow up,
Follow up.
would it be fair to say that if the Senate passed, the additional 65 million or any other funds become available, the 10-year plan provides a template so that we know now that if funding comes in, this is the way we handle it. We deal with the existing plan and we expedite projects as the commissioner's giving authority or shift budgets as the funding is available.
The way I have read what was in Senate Bill 401 is that a big chunk of it, I think it was $30 million, went to apportionment. That goes out to the political subdivisions of the state under the formula. The 36 million was for municipal bridge aid under the current RSA, which means that the department will be going back out, working with towns to make sure that they have their share of the money that is required in a timely manner. Because it is a cost-sharing arrangement, as everybody on this committee knows. Which is why I was glad to see that it was non-lapsing and not just for next year. Because every one of our towns or cities is going to have to go out and appropriate either on a warrant article or at the Board of Aldermen or whatever level, the municipality match for any bridges that are done under that. Don't know when the House Finance will take that up. We vote on the cameras for the state police on the 21st of April, and then Finance takes it. But since we're going to be finished by mid-May, it's going to be soon.
If I may, one more, Madam
Follow
Chair. So I'm sorry, maybe there's something that I don't have this page site here, but maybe you can help me or the department. We have had some communication about the Balsams Road, and I know that we have done something for the Balsams in the Senate recently, and I just wondered if you have some thoughts about it.
My thoughts were, it did come up in discussion. Members of the House from Coos County came in and talked to the committee about the Balsams. The problem is with the 10-year plan, it's roughly $4 million. I forget the exact figure. It would be a zero-sum game. If we use state highway funds, because it's not federal funds are not allowed for it, we would have to drop somebody else's project to do it. So since we'd already been through the Gasset and everything else and all the public hearings that entailed, we did not elect to put it into the 10-year plan. I know that there is some action being taken or not taken. I'm not sure on whether or not any surplus money can be used. I had heard at one point that it was going to be part of a Senate bill. I don't have any concrete answers on which bill or how much. And that would have to be something that the majority leader and the Senate president might want to be able to address.
So if I may, it would be fair to say then, we don't have to deal with that with this bill. That can
I-
develop in the fullness of time.
I would recommend not putting it into the 10-year plan maybe for $1, but that doesn't do anything. Because it would have to be highway funds, state highway funds, no federal funds. And so once you start doing that, then you start moving all the pieces around. And that's not, at this point in the whole criteria, I don't think that that's fair to the other towns and areas that are looking for funding with state funds.
Just an FYI, I have a question up to the Senate President's office, because there is some memory that we did put some money towards it, but I'm trying to find out if in fact we did and where.
I have not seen it in the House yet. But that doesn't mean it won't go to finance straight and not to Public Works.
Thank you.
Wasn't sure if for the road or for other parts of the project. I just couldn't remember. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Gary Daniels.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Gary Daniels. I'm state senator. Sorry. For the record, my name is Gary Daniels, state senator in District 11, encompassing the towns of Wilton, Milford, Amherst, and Merrimack. I'm going to talk today specifically about Section 2 of House Bill 2022. I just want to read that. The project named Nashua Merrimack Bedford, project number 13761, shall be amended to provide that the Commissioner of the Department of Transportation shall transfer ownership of the state-owned portion of Continental Boulevard in Merrimack to the town of Merrimack no later than January 1st, 2025. I want to also read one more thing to you. This is from Part 1, Article 28A of the New Hampshire Constitution. The state shall not mandate or assign any new, expanded, or modified programs or responsibilities to any political subdivision in such a way as to necessitate additional local expenditures by the political subdivision unless such programs or responsibilities are fully funded by the state, or unless such programs or responsibilities are approved for funding by a vote of the local legislative body of the political subdivision. The inclusion of number 2 in House Bill 2022 is a blatant violation of our Constitution, and it needs to be taken out. There are others who will talk about the history of Continental Boulevard behind me, but I see this first and foremost, that if something like this goes forward, I think it legitimately raises the question, okay, what's the next town that the state's going to go after and say, you have to take over this road, which is a state road? I see no end to it. It's opening a door that I don't think we want to go down. So thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. Representative John Cloutier?
I don't think he signed up to speak, did he?
Oh, you are absolutely right. Thank you.
He's in a different committee.
Representative Michael Abbott?
Thank you, Madam Chairman,
Welcome.
and members of the committee. My name, for the record, my name is Michael Abbott, and I'm a state representative for Cheshire District 1, which consists of the towns of Chesterfield, Hinsdale, Walpole, and Westmoreland. I'm not going to, I've sitting on the Public Works and Highways Committee, and there is nothing worse than repeating, I find worse than repeating something that has been said prior to that. And I do want to address this issue of Continental Boulevard. And I have some figures which explain why I feel that the Merrimack should be responsible for this particular area. As it was said previously, the tolls on exit 12, 11, and 10 have all been removed. And consequently, this is the cost of revenue from the state, $1.7 million a year annually. And any of these tolls, the turnpike money, has to be spent on the turnpike. And what it means is their priorities, the DOT, their priorities are first winter maintenance, then preservation, and thirdly, new projects. And what its cost is that a lot of these projects of the DOT have had to be put off because of the lack of revenue. The cost to remove these three toll plazas was $1.9 million. The cost to fully remove remnants of ramp tolls is $4 million. The annual maintenance cost of Continental Boulevard, according to the figures in the DOT, are $80,000 a year. And Continental Boulevard was last repaved, in 2017. And typically, there's a 5-year process where then it would have to be repaved again. So it's just my feeling that the town of Merrimack, I don't have the exact figures, but the property that borders Continental Boulevard, I assume pays an enormous amount in property tax. And it was only at the urging at the town of Merrimack that this Continental Boulevard was initially constructed, going back to when digital was involved in this. And I just think that they've been getting the benefit of this for years, and in the process have complained about the tolls, having to pay the tolls. And I can't see how you can have it both ways. And I'd be glad to answer any questions that I'm capable of.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none? Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Maureen Mooney? Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair and senators of the committee. For the record, my name is Maureen Mooney. I'm a state representative from the town of Merrimack. I'm here, sadly, to voice my opposition to House Bill 2022, specifically Section 2. That is the transfer of Continental Boulevard from the state to our town. I'm going to be very brief, and I did provide testimony to all of you with regards to my reasoning. Section 2 of the bill downshifts a 6-figure annual road maintenance cost directly to Merrimack. Section 2 of House Bill 2022 did not receive public input from Merrimack town officials or Public Works, despite it causing a sizable, unanticipated, and unexpected town expenditure. In sum, Merrimack was not part of the conversation on the House side. No consultation with Merrimack town officials and Public Works, who you will soon hear from and have a lot to contribute with regard to planning, cost, employees needed, history and background of the road, and general readiness for this enormous charge. With that, I'll conclude my testimony. I do ask that you listen to the others who testify after me with information, very detailed. And I would encourage all of you to please remove Section 2 of House Bill 2022 now that it's in your possession. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members of the committee, for your attention.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none?
Thank
Thank you. Bill Boyd. Welcome.
Excuse me, thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to your fellow senators, Bill Boyd, Hillsborough County District 21, representing the town of Merrimack. I'll be very brief. I'll let the words of Senator Daniels and Maureen Rooney speak for me. You do have written testimony that was sent by email this morning. There's no need to amplify that. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none? Thank you,
Okay,
Representative.
thank you.
Tom Koenig, Merrimack.
Thank you to the committee. I appreciate your hearing from us today. My name is Tom Koenig. I'm chairman of the Town Council of Merrimack. And I just wanted to amplify a few of the things in a letter that we've sent to you from the town of Merrimack relative to the Amendment 2 in House Bill 2022, the transfer ownership of Continental Boulevard. Continental Boulevard that the state of New Hampshire is proposing to transfer to the town of Merrimack serves the same purposes that existed when it was constructed by the state back in 1992. The decision to eliminate tolls and the resultant funding source, all of which was agreed to when the tolls were first put in place over 30 years ago, does not change the nature of the use of this section of Continental Boulevard or the state's responsibility to maintain its highways. The town of Merrimack believes it should not be required to shoulder the burden of maintaining a state highway. The transfer of this section of Continental Boulevard to the town of Merrimack is a state of New Hampshire imposing an unfunded mandate by downshifting the cost of maintenance of a state highway in violation of Article 28A of the New Hampshire Constitution. The fact that this section of Continental Boulevard continues to serve an important part of the state highway system distinguishes it from another case like the town of Nelson, when the state of New Hampshire constructed a bypass of a portion of Route 9 and returned the bypass portion over to the town. So I respectfully ask that amendment item number 2, ownership transfer of House Bill 2022, be defeated. I'm not opposed to the 10-year plan. I'm just the unfunded mandate added at the last minute to force expenses on the town of Merrimack. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it Paul Micah? I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. My handwriting's atrocious.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee members. My name is Paul McCallie. I am the town manager for the town of Merrimack, New Hampshire. First, if I repeat something that's sort of in advance, I want to apologize. I know your time is precious. I want to thank you for letting me testify in front of you today on House Bill 2022, the 10-year transportation plan. First, I'd like to say the town of Merrimack is not opposed to the entire 10-year transportation plan. However, we are opposed to item 2 of the plan, ownership transfer. This was an amendment to the original House Bill 2022 at the last minute. No information has been shared with the town of Merrimack, except today, on DOT costing and what is being transferred and why, which we heard today. The original project dated back in 1992 added an exit toll to the Effie Everett Turnpike, exit 10, as well as creating a road to connect 2 state roads, 101A and to the Effie Everett Turnpike. This was to reduce congestion on 101A. The connector road is used by approximately 17,000 drivers a day based on a traffic study in 2019. This is more than 2,500 users than the next busiest road in town. Most of the users are from out of town and do use the road as its intended purpose to connecting the 2 state roads. This purpose will not change whether or not the ownership is transferred. On several occasions throughout the year, state legislators as well as DOT have come before the town council and asked the town to take over Continental Boulevard in order to remove the tolls. On each occasion, it was an emphatic no. We will pay the tolls. We will pay the 30-year bond that we have in our agreement. Now that the tolls have been removed, DOT wants to transfer ownership to the town. Was never part of the agreement back in 1992. The town has kept up its end of the bargain for the last 30 years with the townspeople paying tolls every time they use the exits. Why is DOT wanting to change the game now? If it's to save money, $80,000 on an $80 million budget is not a large save. In closing, I'd like to thank you for your time and respectfully request that the committee remove item 2 from the 10-year plan and defeat the amendment of ownership transfer. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. Ray Gorman?
Good afternoon, and thank you for letting me be here. I am a Cohasset County. Thank you. I'm a Cohasset County Commissioner, as well as a selectman in Colebrook, and a longtime resident of the area, and actually a longtime employee of the Balsams. I'm here to talk about Golf Links Road. I know you had a lot of conversation early on in this meeting today about it. At this point, I just really want to make the point to you the importance it is to the North Country. All right. This road is approximately 2 miles long, and as you drive up, in one of the first landmarks you meet on this road is called Two Town Pond. The reason it's called Two Town Pond is that it's on the border of Dixville and Colebrook. There's some tremendous, if you've ever driven on this road, the scenic value of it, I'll compare it even to maybe to the Kangamangas. It's very scenic, and it's a wonderful road, nature, so on and so forth. And for us, and this road's been owned by the state, and it's part of the development of the Balsams. The development of the Balsams has been going on for 10 years, but is taking a very important turn right now. A lot is going on. The county is heavily involved. We have a bond council. We have $30 million worth of bonds that the county is sponsoring and working with the Balsams. The town of Colebrook we had 3 bond issues this year. A lot of the things that we're doing in our area is to gear ourselves for the Balsams. We're very optimistic at this point that it's going to happen. And so the timing, we need to get this road as part of the development. And as I speak for Colebrook right now, this Golf Links Road leads to the golf course. The golf course is a Donald Ross course, all right? And especially your old-time golfers, those are a really nice golf course. It's one of the nicest in the state. The crew has kept the greens, and they've been keeping the golf course taken care of, maintained during its closure. But all of it is in Colebrook, and they're talking about tens of millions of dollars of real estate development on the golf course and along Golf Links Road. And for a community and for an area, the whole county, especially the community of Colebrook, it would be extremely important to us. We're one of the poorest towns in the state, and this road is important to us. There has been discussions back and forth. Several years ago, we met with Victoria Sheehan when she just had started her job. Mr. Cass came up. We had economic development people. We've been talking about this for a while, and we've all been waiting for the shovel to hit the ground. And we're getting close, and we're going to need you folks' help. And I hope you understand why I'm here today and want to make this work. It probably should have been in a 10-year plan. There's been all kinds of different things that have happened with pandemics, so on and so forth. But it is important to the North Country, the whole county, as well as especially the Colebrook community and the North Country. The amount of jobs that they're talking, $400 million hotel, ski area renovations that are going along, as well as the golf course and that Golf Links Road. So I thank you for your time, and to just let you know how important it is to us.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
that concludes our testimony. If there's anyone here that would like to come up and speak? Come on up.
Maybe I didn't do it right.
Just a second sheet.
I'm more used to being on the House side. My name is Representative Edith Tucker, COAS 5. I represent Randolph, Jefferson, Carroll, and Whitefield. So why am I here talking about Golf Links Road? I'm here because I was the prime sponsor of the Balsams bill that passed 2 or 3 years ago, under which they are now preparing to issue bonds. And I have a big interest in making sure that the work I did and many, many others on making it possible for the Balsams to survive as a grand resort project. We are very close, as Commissioner Gorman said, in having that happen. I'm not in touch with Les Otten every week, but fairly frequently, and he sounds more and more optimistic. They have Goldman Sachs as their pocketbook, and so that's been the problem, is getting sufficient financing to put together a resort of the kind of scope that Commissioner Gorman spoke about. It would make an enormous difference to COAS. And I'm really here not because I represent COAS 5, but because I represent COAS. At the moment, we only have 9 representatives. One had to resign. And so in 400, there are 9 of us. And so we speak really for the county when we're speaking on something like this. Our economy is not terrific up there. It's never really recovered from the loss of the balsams and from the loss of the large number of paper, pulp, and other wood-related businesses. We're going to have only 9 representatives in the future. We've lost sufficient population that we're not going to have the 10 we should have now. So the balsams is an enormous economic benefit to the county, all of it, from Berlin to Lancaster, even, yes, at the Omni Mount Washington. The fact that we're going to once again have 3 grand hotels open and operating in COAS is going to be a tremendous benefit to the whole state because of the amount of tourist dollars, the upper end tourist dollars that will be coming to our county. So this road that got dropped previously from the 10-year plan really deserves to get a line in it. And I say that even though you may not be able to identify where the financing is. The fact that that road is in the 10-year plan, even if not financed at the moment or know where you'd find the financing, is an important policy matter and therefore deserves the Senate's support. I don't know all the ins and outs of why it got dropped. I just assumed it because there was such a long period of time that we've been talking about redevelopment of the balsams. But now I can almost hear the first hammer being driven into a nail or the first shovel. It's very, very close. This is not the time to give up on us. I do believe in the project and I ask for your support.
Thank you, Representative. Senator Sherman.
Thank you for your testimony, both of you. What would be if the funding comes through as expected, what would be the timing when this road would need to be available?
You know, I'm going to turn to Commissioner Gorman to answer that question.
Yeah.
Do you know the answer to that?
Just come up here and join me. if
Oh,
you don't
please do.
mind.
Oh, yeah. Why don't we bring a chair?
Team, I'll work together up there in Paul's County and do the best that we can. So let's say Mr. Houghton puts everything together as financing this summer. He's talking about shoveling the ground this summer. So it's fairly soon. You know, we all know that the engineering, I know we have a major project with DOT right now in our town community of Colebrook. It's taken years. So the engineering would need to be done, so it would definitely be sooner the better. You know what I mean? I would say you certainly would want to start that engineering as soon as you possibly could, the way I understand it. And I'm not, you know, Sheehan is here, there's other people that know a lot more about that, but we want to get it going because we have financing, we have banks, we have the Provident Group, we have people that have stood in front of us on the county level and said, we're ready to go. We're backing this plan. You guys need to do your part. Our bond attorney is working with them right now. There's adjustments that have had to be made. It takes time, but I'm very optimistic and, you know.
Doesn't the road go from the hotel, or what was the hotel, to be rebuilt hotel, right up to the golf course?
Yes, right from,
And the country club.
Yes.
That's the headquarters of the, I don't know how many of you ever played golf there, but the hotel is in Dixville, which is an unincorporated place. There's a beautiful building.
Can you, I'm sorry.
There's a beautiful building that has served as a restaurant, place that people would hold weddings or receptions and so forth, that serves the golf course. So this road runs between that and this building. So if you're going to be staying at a first-class hotel, you're going to want a first-class road to take you from one to the other. And it's fallen into fairly rough shape.
oh, it has. It always has. The state did a great job of each spring coming in and filling in the potholes and taking care of guardrails and so on and so forth. And, you know, we always told people to take their time, so on and so forth. I mean, it is, but it's about 2 miles and it goes directly from the hotel, directly to the country club, to that 18-hole Donald Ross course that I'm talking about, with a significant portion of it in Colebrook, and that's why I keep talking about what the value it has to Colebrook and the North
Yes,
Country.
because Colebrook gets the benefit of the property taxes on anything that's on the other side of Dixville's line that's in Colebrook. So housing development, having that country club, so-called, open again, that would all benefit the taxpayers of Colebrook, because that's where they pay their taxes. Whereas the unincorporated places is a whole different arrangement, which I'm probably not prepared to explain, because I'm not really an accountant. But Colebrook will benefit enormously. And of course, it will benefit for all the jobs and so forth and people coming through. But it really is an integral part of a grand resort would be to have an attractive, up-to-date road going to its golf course. It's an 18-hole golf course. Over time, the 9-hole golf course will be used for a variety of other reasons at the resort. So the focus of golfers, and they are many, is definitely on the golf course. In my district is the Omni Mount Washington Hotel, which has another Donald Ross course. The Mountain View Grand in Whitefield has a 9-hole course. So COAS is a destination for top-notch golfers. And so Golf Links, it really is linked to the success of the hotel.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none?
I heard the first gentleman speak today, and I think he's come back in the room, and he mentioned maybe even just putting it into the dollar. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but in case something falls apart, anything you can do to try to keep our foot in the door so that when the moment comes and we come to you, maybe there's a way. I'm begging, there's no doubt, but you know, let's try to get this done. We're working hard.
We know that there are project monies coming from Washington. How long, we don't know exactly what it's going to be earmarked for. We don't know, but we do know that these are tough times for many rural areas and USDA. There is funding, but it's important to have that line there. It's a policy that's very important to Coos County as a whole. So thank you very much for your
Thank you.
time.
Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none? Appreciate it.
Thank you, folks.
No.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Senators, for the time. My name is Kyle Fox. I'm the Public Works Director of Merrimack, and I'll be speaking to Amendment 2 of House Bill 22. I just wanted to add some clarity to a couple of points that were made earlier. I'll start by saying I'm a registered professional engineer in the state of New Hampshire. I've worked for 28 years in the transportation industry, the first 12 of which I worked for the Department of Transportation. Just to give you a sense of my background, the reason I bring that up is I'm the one who developed the estimate for the town of what it would cost the town to maintain that section of road. And that estimate is about 200,000. And you heard earlier today that the state's estimate is about 80,000. I would think that both numbers are in fact true. For the state to maintain it, it is cheaper. They have many more personnel than we do. They are most likely not going to lay a position off if they get rid of this road to us. For us, we need to add a position. Without the road, we do not. So you have to account for the full cost of that position. The other factor is the economies of scale of some of the items on the road. Pavement markings, we have to contract that out. The state has their own Bureau of Traffic to do their markings. The 3 traffic signals, we have to get a contractor to do any work on the traffic signals. The state has their own traffic bureau to maintain their signal systems. So there's really no comparison as to the cost value for the town to maintain it versus the state. The second point I wanted to bring attention to was the testimony that it was a road for use of Merrimack. It is very much not a road for the use of Merrimack. I encourage each of you to look at a map of Merrimack and the location of this road and the connection that it offers between the Effie Everett Turnpike and Route 101A, both major arterial connectors in the southern New Hampshire corridor. 101A is the major east-west corridor through Milford to Nashua. And of course, the Turnpike is the major north-south corridor west of 93. And if you look at the traffic counts and the turning movements from the intersection from exit 10 industrial interchange to the state section of Continental Boulevard, well over 50% of the traffic comes from the Everett Turnpike connection. It is not a town road. It's 46 feet wide. Our roads are 24 feet wide. It in no way resembles a town road, and it's not a town road, and it should remain a state road. Thank you for your time.
Senator Waters.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do you happen to know what the total road maintenance budget for the town of Merrimack is?
Yeah, it's about $4 million with capital projects included.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak that hasn't been given the opportunity?
May I ask a question of the Commissioner, Madam Chair?
Commissioner, would you like to come up?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Victoria Sheehan, Commissioner for DOT.
You knew you weren't going to be able to sit there and sneak out without at least one question, right? This is just my question, Commissioner. You know, on the Balsams Road, I understand the issue about state funds. I get that. I agree with Representative Graham. Would it make sense to put in a line so that at least it's in there with $1? Or so in case there were funding that the governor or others were to find from another source that wouldn't take away from our state highway money or not?
If the intent is to make another source of funding available for this project, then our recommendation would be to wait and provide that authority in separate legislation when you allocate those dollars.
Thank you.
That's it. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing Senator Sherman.
Hi, Commissioner. Good to see you. What's the downside of putting it in there? A placeholder or $1?
If a project is introduced into the 10-year plan but has no funding associated with it, the department is not authorized to move forward with it. We've had other projects introduced with $1 assigned, and it still does not provide the authority for the department to actively work on that project. That authority would need to be granted through separate legislation. And so if the discussion is around providing direction to use either one-time surplus or some other source of funding for this project, that legislation would be adequate to grant the authority to the department at that time.
Follow up?
So quick follow-up. Do you know why it was taken out in the first place if we were anticipating moving forward with the project?
So the project actually made it through design and was advertised for construction back in 2017. However, when the project was added to the 10-year plan, there was language associated with the description that only granted the department the authority to move forward with construction if the Balsams Development Group had secured the funding to commence commercial operations. So at the time that we were ready to move forward, the Balsams Group had not secured all of the financing that was necessary to advance the project. And so consequently, we did not move forward with construction. And so in subsequent 10-year plan cycles, while there was discussion around adding Golf Links Road back into the 10-year plan, because the project still wasn't ready from a financing perspective, the department was not granted the authority to move forward.
Follow up?
So last question, sorry. I hope it's the last. The concern I have is that it's the cart and the horse problem. We know that the 10-year plan, a lot of the projects in there have been there for a while. If this is a true development that needs to be moving forward fairly quickly once it's all authorized, what is the best way? You've already got the engineering plan done, so would it be able to, if legislation were introduced next year to go ahead with this road and put money in the budget to do it because it'll be a budget year, could it move forward fairly quickly given that the engineering is all done?
We'd have to revisit the scope of the project. A lot has changed since 2017. We have not invested in that corridor at all. And so it has continued to deteriorate. So we'd have to make sure that the original scope still met the need. But we could fairly quickly update any plans and re-advertise the project.
All right, any other questions from the committee? Seeing none? Thank you, Commissioner. All right, is there anyone here that has not been given the opportunity to speak on House Bill 2022 and would like to? With that, I will close the hearing on House Bill 2022. And why don't we take a 10-minute, we are not going to be execing this bill today, so you don't have to worry about that. Why don't we take a 10-minute recess and see if Senator Waters comes back and we can do a little bit more execing. All right, we are in recess till 3 o'clock.
trying to contemplate. I'm just about to eight crime bills.
That's what
And two-
happens
and
when
two
you get-
hearings. It's my own darn fault. Yeah, you just hold off with those thoughts. You can think of it on say, all right?
Yeah.
1001.
You can't complain. You put all the. money into it.
That's true.
So, right? Okay.
All right, so
Oh,
right
Cook-
now, we
Cook
only,
Buelow is still testifying. That's gonna go on forever.
who?
Cook Buelow still testifying. Well, you don't know, you don't have experience with Cliff.
Are we gonna do HB one?
Well, let's, do I hear a motion to move into exec?
Second.
All right, Senator Sherman moves exec, Senator Rishardi seconds. All those in favor of moving into exec, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Why don't we do 1302?
Okay.
That's the one we heard today. With regards to the weighing of the vehicles. What are your thoughts on it?
I'm
Well-
concerned about the safety issue, so
Yeah.
I'm not,
Why don't we make a motion?
okay.
Go ahead.
I make the motion, inexpedient to legislate.
Second?
I'll second.
Senator Sherman seconds. All right, discussion?
If I could, I just think I don't really know why this bill should move forward. Sounds like all of the safety experts are opposed to it, and the benefit of it actually moving forward is, I don't really see a big benefit if it's only happening 4 to 5 times every couple of years, so.
Senator Ward, your thoughts? Akil? All right, so the motion is inexpedient to legislate on 1302. Ready for all those in favor of ITL, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Consent?
Senator Sherman moves consent.
Second.
Senator Rishardi seconds. All those in favor of ought to pass on consent, say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, ITL on consent, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I will take this one out.
Sorry, but.
I'm so used to ought to pass, it just, it holds on.
Well, this was still unanimous.
Are we, do you want me to move on to pass on 1001 FN?
Sure. I'll second.
The only disappointment I had on this bill was that we didn't get the mint cookies at the time that it was presented.
Sorry. And, okay, so, ought to pass, all those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor of ought to pass, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Move
Consent.
consent. Go ahead.
Second.
Senator Waters moves consent, Senator Sherman seconds. And all those on, in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Senator Ward, you want to take this one out?
I'll be happy to take it out, sure.
Mint cookies?
Let me tell you a quick
How about the
cookie
coconut
story.
one?
What do you-
Well, wait,
We should come out of exec, right?
Yeah.
Or we,
Senate, huh?
are there any more you want to do?
Is there anything else?
Senator Sherman moves out of consent, Senator
Out of exec.
out of exec. Senator Waters seconds. All those in favor of moving out of consent,
Exec.
exec, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
So,
cookie story.
we all know Courtney. Her daughter's a good
you're doing right.
All those in favor of adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
We're getting there, everybody. Peter, thanks for all your work. Really, it's moving smoothly and really appreciate it. And I'm, I don't know.